Welcome to the Six Manchester Masons podcast run by the MLC Manchester Level Club. Today we have a brilliant guest, which is Brother Shaun Butler, joining us, who is the UGLE Communications Manager. Thank you very much for joining us, Shaun.
No problem, Dean. It's lovely to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks. I really appreciate your time. As we always do, we like to get to know a little bit more about our guests. So can you tell us more about Shaun Butler? Kind of, where did you grow up? What are your hobbies? And, you know, what did you study growing up? Whatever you like.
Sure. Yeah. No. So, yeah. As I said, my name's Shaun Butler. I grew up in the London borough of Bexley, which is a southeast London borough, kind of bordering with Kent. I went to just your bog standard local comprehensive school in the area. I'm now a governor at that school, actually.
Nice.
Yeah. And just basically studied my A-levels. What did I do? English literature, history, government and politics, and media studies, of course. That was the closest thing I could get to comms. Come out of school, went to study, funnily enough, politics at Royal Holloway, University of London in Egham. Had a brilliant 3 years there, and then basically got into comms and stuff, and here I am now in terms of hobbies and stuff. Obviously, number one, Freemasonry. And
nicely done there.
Slipped that in, didn't I? And for my sins, I'm a Newcastle United fan as well. Someone has to be, I guess.
Yeah, here he is. You're representing the Newcastle top there, Shaun.
You know, you can't be a Newcastle fan and not drink heavily. That's the thing. So that was probably, I look happy there, but that's probably after a 5-0 smashing that we've had, and drowning my sorrows. Newcastle fan, love football generally, so always watching a bit of football. Not, unfortunately, a very good football player, never been my strength.
A big centre back, I believe, in the past.
Yeah, I used to play centre half, 6'5".
Is that how tall you are?
That's how tall I am. Yeah, although pace not my strong point, I have to say.
Yeah.
And that there's a photo of me over at Epsom Downs, which is near to where we live. So one of our lockdown strolls that we've been doing. But just I enjoy sport generally, really. Football, rugby, big fan of rugby.
Well, the 6'5" makes sense with the rugby world, Shaun.
It does. It makes a bit more sense. Yeah. It's good for those that aren't often found at a gym, shall we say. It's a good. The rugby's a great game because it's one of those games that you can, whatever size you are, there's a position for you to play. So for me, being
5'6",
scrum half team, perfect scrum half. Exactly, you just get it and run, and I chase you and make sure you don't get battered.
Well, I'll get squashed.
I'll do my best for you.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, and so as I said, it's just a great game. There's position for everyone. You know, there's a place for everyone to take part. I like watching other sports, and so I'm absolutely appalling at golf, I have to say.
I'm not good.
You know what? It's just I'm left-handed, so I feel like my coordination is naturally just kind of Bambi on ice, sort of level. But golf's a game that I'd like to get into.
Strangely, I'm right-handed, but I play left in golf.
You know what? I for a long time, I being left-handed, I played right-handed because I couldn't get any left-handed clubs, so I was forced to play right-handed by my dad. And
that might have been the problem there.
It showed. Imagine, maybe that's the only thing. Maybe if I played left-handed, I'd be Tiger Woods. Who knows?
I was going to say, yeah.
Unlikely, but
you could be the next billionaire in golf here, Shaun.
Who knows? Maybe I've gone down the wrong path. But yeah, no, it's just general big sports fan, and as I see New England Patriots. Yeah, but I do like my American football, but I am a shameless glory hunter when it comes to being a supporter. I do like Patriots, but
which you mentioned earlier is just a bit contradiction to Newcastle now.
It's a massive contradiction. Absolutely huge. I'm an absolute. I just love losing. Yeah. That's obviously it. What can you say?
So, I think Alan Shearer was your idol as such, wasn't it, growing up?
He was, yeah. I remember. I have very, very vague memories of Euro '96. I was 3. and in Euro '96. So
yeah.
very, very vague memories of Shearer scoring the hat trick against the Dutch at Wembley.
Nice.
And then I think that summer he went to Newcastle, and my grandparents live in the northeast,
Yeah.
and I mean, that was it then. He was my hero. He was the number 9. He was the goal scorer, taking all the glory.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I remember actually once we went to the training ground with my grandparents. They took us down to
Oh,
see
God.
there, and the players were pulling in their cars, and we were all stood there. And I remember I was waiting for him. I was absolutely desperate to see him. And I remember this Jaguar pulled in, blacked out windows, and I was stood there, kind of 4-year-old Sean stood there anticipating him. And I remember the window came down, and there he was, Alan Shearer, and I just burst
Wow.
into tears.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, just burst into
That's
tears.
so good. Yeah.
Panicked, didn't know what to do. Anyway, my brother was pretty much kind of climbing into the car with him to try and get an autograph, and I was just stood there hiding behind my mum, terrified. But yeah, embarrassing.
Not embarrassed. That's a good moment. One that you'll clearly never forget.
No, and then you know what? I met him again. I went to just before the 2018 World Cup. A friend and me went to an event in Leicester Square, and it was him and Alan Shearer and Ian Wright were doing an event for the Sun newspaper, and they were talking about the World Cup, England's chances at the World Cup. And I remember just as the event was ending, I saw what I imagined to be an Arsenal fan kind of running down the stairs towards Ian Wright. So I thought, right, I'm going for it. So I just dropped down. I got a selfie with Shearer. So that's an absolute prized
Nice.
possession. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say you need to send us that one.
Yeah, you'll have that one. Yeah, exactly that one.
You should have
Dig that
said.
one out. Yeah.
No, thanks for sharing with us. So, one of the last things I want to mention, you worked in a suit shop as well growing up, right?
I did, yeah. When I came out of university, you have that come out of uni and you're just like, oh my God, this is the real world now. No one's paying for me to do anything, or I've got to actually go out and do something with my life. Put the pot noodles to one side and crack on, sort of thing. And yeah, I remember my brother at the time was working in a suit shop in Bluewater Shopping Centre, which is in Kent, and I said to him very nicely, please, could you have a word with your manager and try and get me in? And I went in for a trial shift, and yeah, I was there for about a year. And you know what? I actually really enjoyed it.
I love a good suit.
You know what? And
Love
exactly.
a good suit.
And retail always comes with its negatives. You do sometimes get rude people and people that, have just attitude problems and whatnot. But 99% of people that I met and kind of helped and fitted for a suit and stuff were actually just really nice. And they were, it was good fun kind of measuring out the suits and just kind of putting together outfits. And so I did really enjoy it. So all I would do is I'd go in and I'd literally just stand myself in the suit section. And that was me for the shift, and I was happy doing that. And it was good fun, but it was more just like a job coming out of university while I was looking for other stuff.
Yeah, so if I want a custom suit, I can give you a shout.
I'm your man.
Nice
Contacts in the suit game.
Mate, you're winning there, to be honest.
Oh,
what to go straight in? Let's say, how long have you been a Freemason then? How long have you been involved?
So I was initiated in 2015. The day before, sorry, my final university exam. So obviously I had my priorities right, and that there is a picture of me on the morning of my initiation, and in the middle there is my granddad.
Michael, is it your Michael, your granddad?
Yeah, Michael is my granddad. Yeah, he was initiated a long time ago, I think back in the 70s or 80s. And then on the right hand side there is my cousin David, who actually was my proposer. In my mother lodge, so he was already a Freemason, and he proposed me to join his, and that's kind of how I got into it. But I remember that picture vividly because I was absolutely terrified, because for about the 3 months prior, I just had so many wind-ups from people, my cousins saying, "Oh, don't forget to bring the carrot for the goat," and
we've all had it, haven't we? We have all had it.
In that picture, you can see in my face there's a slight feeling of kind of, is it still too late to bail? But yeah, it was genuinely, in all seriousness, joined in 2015, and it was better than I could even have imagined. Going in there, my granddad coming all the way down from Newcastle to see me kind of join him was just perfect sort of way to come into Freemasonry, and actually that relief when you sit yourself down when you're in, and the junior deacon plods you down, and it's such just a feeling of just wow, that was an amazing experience. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, did my second degree. There was a bit of a gap between my second and my third, but I eventually did my third and then joined the Royal Arch in 2018.
Oh, nice. So what made you become interested in Freemasonry? Was it your granddad or your cousin? Was it,
Yeah,
what brought you down that road?
you know what? I remember growing up. I remember just hearing little mentions about Freemasonry and Freemasons, and it was always. I remember my mum always used to, oh, you know, your granddad's a member of the Freemasons, and it would be, oh, you know, him and your nan would always go out to posh do's, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
which we obviously now know to be something completely different. But you know, they'd always be going out to these posh dinners and nice events and all this sort of thing. And it was he didn't really speak about it much. It was, oh, you don't, you know, don't ask, you know, sort of don't ask him about that sort of thing. It was very old fashioned. And then as we kind of got older, as I said, I found out my cousin had joined, and
mm,
I was immediately interested then. And I
yeah,
bothered him so much over WhatsApp and giving him calls and trying to find out more about it and stuff. And he said, you know, I think you'd really enjoy it. I think you should definitely come in. And for me as well, it wasn't just that. It was also, I think, the history element. I'm a really big fan
yeah,
of my history, and I think I look back and all these kind of titans of history, Winston Churchill, the Duke of Wellington, you know, all of these massive people in our history. And I was really interested to find out what was it that kind of bonded all these people together. You know, what was this thing that brought all of these fascinating people into one place? And that
yeah.
was Freemasonry. And I wanted to get to the root of that. I wanted to see, well, what was that? What was so special about this thing? Um, and that was enticing for me. So
Yeah.
as I said, when you kind of got there, I realized, you know, what it was essentially what Freemasonry taught, you know, how to be a good person, how to help those around you in the best way that you possibly can. And it definitely just, I think, filled a hole for me very much in terms of what I was looking for in life, in terms of guidance and understanding.
No, that's a brilliant answer. I think I seen a post there a while back where they had Winston Churchill's apron, I think.
Yes, yeah. So yeah,
Is that,
Winston Churchill's apron, yeah, his Master Mason apron is
yeah.
in the Museum of Freemasonry at Freemasons Hall, as
Oh,
well
is
as
that
his
where it is?
yeah, as well as his little briefcase.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's just little things like that, you know, someone who did so much for this country and even, you know, Wellington as well, just going, you know, back at these massive people in history and brought together by Freemasonry. I mean, how amazing is that?
I know it keeps us all together. Like you said, that you meet so many different people in the lodge room and
Yeah,
everyone.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely, and actually going through that ceremony, knowing that those people had been through that same experience, and that actually when you sit in, you know, around the table at a festive board, and you've all got that in common. You know, you
yeah.
come from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds, all different professions, whatever it may be. But you've all got that one thing in common, that you've had that shared experience, that you've learned those same lessons. It's a very powerful thing, I think.
It is. And to be honest, I remember mine very well, but I have to admit, I did come out thinking, what was that about as well?
Yeah, no, I was exactly the same.
I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was exactly the same, and I remember even just the blur of getting home and stuff. You know, I remember
Yeah.
going through Charing Cross to the point where I actually left my debit card in the card machine at the WH Smiths in Charing Cross Station, because I think I was just in a bit of a haze.
Yeah.
I remember just getting home and laying in bed and thinking, what on earth was that? It was just, what has happened, sort of thing.
I know, but it is an amazing experience.
Yeah.
So, what lodge are you in then, and what office do you currently hold at the minute?
So I am currently a member of Letchworth Lodge, number
Excellent.
3505, which is the staff lodge at UGLE.
Okay.
Yeah, UGLE and Freemasons Hall, and we also get some people come up from Mark Mason's Hall as well. And Letchworth was a former Grand Secretary, so the lodge is named after him.
Oh,
Um, and yeah, Letchworth Lodge is a great lodge because it's obviously people that you work with,
yeah.
um, and it's not taken too seriously. I think the right
Yeah.
lodge. I think it's very important that you find the right lodge for you as a
Definitely.
Freemason. And for me, I like a lodge that is a bit more relaxed. And Letchworth is very much that. You know, you know, they're very supportive. They if you get a bit wrong, you know, it's not. tuts coming from every corner of the lodge room. It's
Yeah.
don't worry about it, carry on, or they'll prompt you, if they can see. And I just prefer that. I've been to a couple of lodge meetings where you feel like you're a contestant on kind of SAS Who Dares Win sort of thing. You're going to dare to get a line wrong, or you'd be marched out the lodge room as soon as
Yeah.
anything. But yeah, and before the lockdown, I was junior deacon.
Yeah.
Junior deacon presumably going up to senior deacon. And again, I was happy with that because I've done an initiation before as junior deacon in my old lodge, and I feel quite comfortable with that, with those words. But I think we were discussing before, weren't we? How I just don't think I've got the time yet to fully commit to being a worshipful master.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, it's so much to learn and stuff. I just don't really feel.
Yeah,
Like
it's a lot of time and
dedicated
dedication, and you are a busy man. Can we go back to that last picture, Darren, please? I think, what was it, a Grand Lodge Day with Ian Chandler? I think it
Yes.
was.
Yeah. So Ian Chandler is the provincial Grand Master for Surrey, and he's also the chairman of the Communications and Marketing Working Party, and he sits on the board of
Oh,
general
right.
purposes as well.
Yeah.
And the night before that, I'd been to a committee meeting for the Surrey communications team, and in the Masonic Hall they have. In Surbiton, they have like a picture of him, a portrait of him.
Oh, do they?
So I thought it'd be funny to take a selfie of myself next to his portrait and tweet it. And the next day he came to find me and he said, "When I've got all my apron and collar on, come and find me and we'll get a proper photo." So that was it.
Oh, brilliant.
Basically, that room is it's basically where all the provincial and district grandmasters and all the the big wigs, so to speak,
Yeah.
get aproned up, collared up, chained up, and get
Yeah.
ready. So yeah, I basically went up and found him, and we had
That's
that
brilliant.
picture.
That is brilliant. Yeah, well, to be honest, mate, you'll be getting chained up there, I reckon, soon,
Oh
and
God,
getting ready in there.
I think
To
so.
be quite honest, yeah, I'm backing. I'm backing it, Sean. I'm
Oh,
backing
thanks,
it.
mate. I appreciate that. It's
So
unlikely
how?
though.
Nah, come on. How did you become communications manager of UGLE? Because it's a huge role. Right.
Yeah. So I basically started at UGLE in 2017 as a
Okay.
communications executive with particular responsibility for social media. So take you back to 2017. This was the tercentenary year. This was the 300th anniversary of the founding of the Premier Grand Lodge at the Goose and Gridiron pub in London. And there was these massive amount of events planned across the provinces and across the districts to mark this historic occasion. And I think they basically just needed some extra support on the social media side of things and someone to come in and help generally with their comms stuff. So I came in as a comms exec, and that was such a fantastic experience. That year was just amazing. There was so much going on. I got to go to the Royal Albert Hall for the big set piece event.
That was massive.
Oh,
That
it was
was
spectacular.
huge.
It was
Yeah.
absolutely, and the sight of the big square and compass on the stage, and seeing His Royal Highness the Duke of Kent Grand Master, and all of it was just such an amazing experience. And we also had the laying of the Victoria Cross stones out the front of the building about 2 weeks into the job, which was just it was just an amazing thing to witness so early on. And as
I've got. Sorry to interrupt. I've got a note about that later on, Sean. Can you explain a little bit about what that is, please?
the Victoria Cross, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know about the
Sure.
squares outside.
Yeah, so basically, I think it was in April or May of 2017. Grand Lodge unveiled some paving stones that had been laid in honor of the Freemasons who had been awarded the Victoria Cross during the First World War, and they're fantastic. If you see it just outside the tower entrance at Freemasons Hall, they're kind of laid out there, and it's got the names of those who received the Victoria Cross, and their lodge, and their battalion or their regiment that they served in. Not all of them survived, sadly. They received them, I think, kind of posthumously because they were killed in action. But just a big part of my early work at UGLE for that was finding out and researching these guys, and the stories of what these people did, was absolutely amazing. People charging at turrets and pulling 3 or 4 men out of a dangerous situation. It's just mind-boggling. And these were people, not far off the age, my age, 20, some of them even 21, all the way, just amazing acts of courage. And yeah, we had a big unveiling event. The Grand Master came down and unveiled the stones. It was just a really special event, and I think it very much set the tone for my experience at UGLE. But yeah, basically from that point onwards, just as time went on, I kind of was slowly expanding my role into as many areas as I could, really picking up as many new experiences as I could. And then last year in August 2019, our director of communications, Michelle Warville, promoted me to communications manager, an FMT.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, an FMT editorial manager.
Yeah.
So, and my particular responsibility for membership communication. So that's communicating from Grand Lodge to you guys, the membership. And
Yeah.
and being a helping hand to provincial communications officers who, as you see in that photo there, that's taken at a provincial communication officers forum, which we have in January of every year. This was from this year, and we get basically all 48 come to Freemasons Hall, and we give them a day of kind of different sessions in terms of different elements of communications. We have breakout sessions. We had the Deputy Grand Master, Jonathan Spence, gave a speech. David Staples, Grand Secretary, did a Q&A. And we also had Jeffrey Deering, President of the Board of General Purposes, who closed the first day. And then we had a lovely dinner in the vestibules outside the Grand Temple at Freemasons Hall, and then back for the second day. It was just basically what we want is for people to come away from that experience feeling like they've learned something, of use that they can take back to the provinces, but also as part of a team, because a term that Michelle uses often is, it's the power of the 200,000, the power of the 48, so we've got 48 provinces, and we're all on the same team, so we all need to be pulling in the same direction to achieve the same goal, which is essentially the normalization of Freemasonry in the public sphere. That's the aim at the end of the day.
No, I love it. I'm going to touch in a little bit more about your role a little bit later. I want to pull you back into how did you even see the job role? Like, did you know about it through Lodge, or what? How did that happen?
So yeah, I again vividly remember I'd been at the suit shop, long shift, and I remember I'd got home and had my bad habits die hard. I had a pot noodle. I brought that from my university days. I'd had a pot noodle. I'd finished work. I was tired. I remember getting into bed and just thinking, I'm gonna have a look for jobs and stuff. And I remember being on Facebook and just scrolling down actually and finding and seeing a post from UGLE basically saying that they were looking for a communications executive. And I remember just thinking, well, why not? I feel like I've got a good amount of experience in communications. It's something I'm really passionate about, so I'm going to apply, and I did, and the rest is history.
Yeah. So you didn't have to be a Mason for the job then?
No. In fact, they didn't even ask me. I don't think they actually found out I was a member until I started in the role.
Right.
I just got rocked up, and it kind of popped up in conversation on my first day, I think, and that was it. But no, absolutely not. I mean, we've got a number of even, I mean, in comms, me and myself and Dean Simmons, the web content manager, we're the only two Freemasons in the communications team.
Interesting.
So
who was it who done your interview then? Who was it you went down?
So we had the HR person, Liz Gay. We had the former director of comms and our former head of digital, and just sat down, very very relaxed interview. I mean, it's quite an ominous building to turn up to for an interview. It was this big lovely town. I remember, it's quite embarrassing to say this, but I remember the nerves got to me. I'm desperate to go to the toilet, and I didn't want to go to the toilet in the building. I thought, oh no. So I remember sneaking into Philomena's across the road, which I'm sure will be a name that is familiar to a lot of Freemasons who've been down to Freemasons Hall. Philomena's pub across the road, and I popped in there and had to ask the guy nicely if I could use his facilities, and he was more than obliging, thank God.
Oh mate, and I think the toilet saved you. I hope.
No, I think it did. That could have gone terribly, couldn't it?
Could have went a bit wrong.
Yeah, could have gone.
As you mentioned, so as well as being communications manager, you're the chairman of staff committee, if I got that right.
Yep, that's correct.
And you run FMT Freemasonry today.
Yep.
Can you explain what the roles are and what you do in each
Sure. So FMT, I'll start with FMT. So I'm
Yeah.
FMT editorial manager. So basically, what that
Okay.
means is I head up the editorial panel. And basically, our job is to decide which stories are going to get into the magazine. And we get a massive amount of content from provinces, and my job basically is to put forward what I think are the best stories for the magazine, and then also to kind of find any stories that I think would be particularly good as a feature, so that's something that would go on the front page, or would, an interview piece or something. And then what I do is I collect all of those stories together. Then I go to an editorial panel meeting, and I basically kind of talk about my ideas to the group, and we kind of discuss them, and then they let me know if they think it's a good thing to go in to the magazine, basically.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting job, and again, it's a fantastic way for me to kind of keep up to date with all the great things that are going on around the provinces and the districts, and we're always looking for these sorts of stories, or these sorts of angles for stories, or particularly interesting people that we could speak to. So that's FMT. Chairman of the staff
Sorry
committee.
to interrupt. How would brethren out there and watching this now, how would they get that to you at FMT?
So the best bet is to go through the PCO, so the Provincial Communication Officer. Every province has one. And that's a person who's basically recruited by the province to head up the comms operation in that province. So they'll look after the website, they'll look after, with their team, of course. It's not just one person who does this. They manage the rest of the comms team, and the team will look after social media, websites, FMT submissions, all these sorts of areas. So the best bet would be, if you were a Freemason and you thought that you had a good story, or you felt like you were a person yourself, or you knew of someone who you think might be an interesting person for us to talk to, approach your provincial communications officer, kind of speak to them about it, and they'll then come and speak to me about it, and we'll kind of take it from there.
Interesting. Sorry to I've interrupted your flow there, but
no
I
worries.
Thought it'd be good to mention.
No problem. Yeah. So chairman of the staff committee as well. So at UGLE, David Staples has put a massive amount of time into improving the experience for staff at UGLE. So he wants it to be a place where that people want to work. So we were recently, it's you spend a lot of time at work, so you should it should be a happy place to be. And we've recently received Investors in People accreditation, which is a big kind of industry recognized thing for an employer. We've got a load of new perks and stuff and benefits for working there and whatnot. And one of these things was the creation of a staff committee. So that's basically a committee of 5 or 6 staff who basically other members of staff can go to if they have an issue, or if they have a question, or if they have something that they'd like to be represented to Dr. David, or to HR, or to anyone else it may be, and they can come to the staff committee, and we can kind of help them and advise them. And if it's a HR matter, we can suggest that they go and speak to HR, whatever it may be. But I was elected by my colleagues to be the chairman of that, which is it's a fun experience, and it's just another sort of string to the bow, isn't it?
You're doing a lot. I know we've seen a picture. We've seen a picture, a selfie with some banners. Can you explain what that was? I know Darren had it up a minute ago.
Yes, so that there is, we had that was for the PCO forum, so that for the provincial comms officers, that was this January just gone. And what we did is we created these banners to basically just those are the four key words: respect, charity, honesty, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that we really are trying to pinpoint as being central to what it means to be a Freemason. And we basically had each of the words on a banner, basically explaining what that word meant in regards to Freemasonry. And those are a real big part of the message and the image that we convey about Freemasonry in kind of the world today. And we had those at the side of the stage, and then we had the one just behind my left ear there. The welcome banner was at the front. So as people come in the reception area, they see they see the welcome banner. So again, it's all about professionalizing, isn't it? It's all about, I think the big thing, there you see the banners at the front there, just next to me. And what I think for a long time, I think the role of comms officers and the communications team within provinces wasn't probably as respected as it should be, and I don't think it was appreciated actually how important the work is that's undertaken by communications teams. And I think part of what we wanted to do in this event was really highlight actually, it is really important, especially, I mean, we obviously didn't know what was coming at that point, but especially in light of COVID and everything that was coming with that, the communications is absolutely fundamental and central to our lives now, and actually communicating to brethren, communicating to membership more widely is huge. It plays a massive role. So if we could create an experience that made them feel a bit special, made them feel like they got the kind of kudos for the work that they do, which they 100% deserve, we were happy.
Yeah, and may I say a big thanks to all the communications teams out there, because you're doing a phenomenal job at the minute. Interestingly enough, what is this? You're running digital workshops as well, don't you? So
yes, absolutely. So myself and Dean Simmons, who you can see there on the left-hand side of me from my way looking at it. Dean is the web content manager at UGLE. He joined UGLE about 2 weeks after me. So we were both newbies at the same time, which was really nice. So we just become really close as well. Both big football fans. He's an Arsenal fan, unfortunately. But yeah, become really close and good mates and stuff, and we work really well together, which is always nice to find someone like that when you're at work. And basically, in start of 2019, we just felt like there was something missing from the experience especially for provincial communications teams. So what we did is we created what's called the UGLE Digital Workshop, which is basically a workshop on website, FMT content and social media. And basically what we do is we take the workshop out around the provinces. So that picture there you can see is of me and Dean with the Provincial Grandmaster for Somerset, David Medlock. And we've been to 33 provinces so far. We're hoping again when everything settles down with COVID that we'll be able to kind of complete the rest. And basically the idea of that is that we go out and we meet provinces in their own backyard. Because I think too often before, I think there was this perception that UGLE talks from its big ivory tower down in London, tells everyone what to do. We drag everyone down to London once a year, and then we talk at them for 8 hours, and then we send them back. And I think that didn't really work. So I think we thought it was really important for us to be seen to be making the effort to go out to meet people in as I said in their own backyard, and to meet the comms teams, to meet lodge comms people, and just I guess to if we can tell them how we do it, and if they pick up anything useful that they want to take on and use themselves, then perfect.
No, that's really good. And I know we missed you. I know Darren was supposed to come. I think when was that? You were up in Manchester recently, right?
No, it was last year.
Oh, last year, sorry.
I can't remember exactly when. But yeah, we went up to Manchester. Which was it was a great experience. As I said, it's just nice to meet people in their own comfort zone. And to see and listen to people's concerns and challenges that they have, and to see if we can help. It's exactly what we wanted to achieve with them, and fingers crossed. I think we've been successful so far.
Well, it's great work you're doing. So can I ask who else is in the communications team with you and Dean then? Who
sure.
Else is
Yeah. So the team's headed up by Michelle Warville, who joined us in March 2019. Michelle comes from a journalist background, so which is perfect really for building a good relationship with the press, which is obviously one of our big aims. And she also comes from, in a previous role, a membership organisation. So she was pretty much perfect for the job in a number of ways, really. So she had experience working with the structure that we have in Freemasonry as well. And she heads up the department. So she kind of leads on all the areas. Then we have, obviously, as I said, myself as communications manager and membership, and Dean looks after the website. And then we've got Livia Ferreira, who is our public relations manager. So she joined us, I think, at the turn of the year, just before the start of 2020 or just after. I can't remember exactly, but
Yeah.
she obviously heads up what is a big task of building a better relationship with the press. So putting out press releases, liaising with newspapers, all that sort of thing. Big job, and she's making a really good job of it as well. We're getting a lot of good positive results from around the country. I think we're up to, last count, I think 400 positive news stories, and in a certain really quite limited time frame, which is worlds apart from what it was. We're being really proactive now, rather than just reactive, which we were. If someone said something about us, we might respond. But now we're proactive. We're taking the stories to them. And we're getting some success with that. We've also got George Clark, who is our internal comms exec. So he looks after communicating with staff. So we have a weekly newsletter which is sent out to staff, and he's also got a series at the moment called Life in Lockdown, where he talks to a member of staff from each department each week to find out how they found being locked down and not coming into the office and stuff. We've got Alessio Cafone, who is a digital marketing executive. He works with Dean, and he basically runs leads on SEO, all the kind of technical sides of running a website, and all that sort of thing. Massive amount of work, and quite way over my head, if I'm honest with you. A lot of work. And then we've currently got working with the team Nicola Ladner, who's working on events for us at the moment. She's basically leading on Open House London, which is a big event. And so we've got a good team. We've got a good team, and it's a strong team as well. We get on really well. Everyone gets on with each other, and it's good.
Oh, that's good. No, thanks for sharing. So what is the current main focus then for all you guys at the communications team? What is the main focus for you?
The main focus, without a doubt, is our attempts to normalize Freemasonry in the public. We want people to not grimace when they hear the word Freemasons, which unfortunately, we had some market research done, excuse me, and it put us down even less popular than the Bullingdon Club and even the Illuminati. We're in terms of just net favorability scores, we're lower than those guys. So that kind of, I think, highlighted to us the work that we needed to do. But actually, what was interesting is when you actually told those people who'd been asked that question, when we told them what Freemasonry was and what it does, we actually saw that score jump massively the other way. So it's just interesting. So that really kind of drove home to us the fact that if we tell people more about us, if we share what Freemasonry actually is, then you'll see that negativity start to ebb away, and actually people start to have a positive view of us rather than a negative one. And it seems really simplistic, but that's essentially our aim. And the way that we do that is, as I said, by being proactive, by talking to the press, by talking to the media, by being active on social media, by encouraging our members and the provinces to do the same. Things like what you guys do here, it's a fantastic way of showing that Freemasonry is open, and we're happy and willing to talk about what it means to be a Freemason and our Masonic experiences and whatnot. But I think I would definitely umbrella all of that under the term normalizing Freemasonry 100%.
Yeah, I've got this question a little far down, but I think it's probably a good time to bring it up. So what I have here is we've heard all the negative stigma around being a Freemason. Are you doing anything to tackle this, which you have explained already or previously done so? Because I know we spoke, you said David Staples done Enough is Enough campaign as well.
Yep. Yeah, he did. That was back in 2018. There was a news story that was published in the Guardian newspaper about suggesting that there was a connection between two lodges and the Houses of Parliament, and that some way this was an example of how Freemasonry and MPs were meeting in the house. It was basically, when you read the story, there was very little truth in any of it, really. It was hard to find any fact at all, and I think that was very much the point. It was because it was a good example of something that a long time ago we probably wouldn't have said anything about. And actually, I think David Staples was keen to actually be proactive and get out and address those inaccuracies. And it was, as it said on the tin, enough is enough. We're not
Yeah.
just gonna sit back and let people throw dirt at us anymore, unfounded rubbish essentially. We're not just going to sit back and take that. So we took out 3 full-page advertisements in 3 national newspapers, published a letter that David had written, basically addressing these concerns and basically saying that it wasn't fair, it wasn't on, and we weren't gonna tolerate it anymore. And to be fair, the Guardian, I think, did eventually retract elements or correct elements, but of course that's page 66 down the bottom right hand corner, font size 8 or something, tiniest little section. But we take that. That's a win for us. That's a good result. And actually, I think David did about over 30 national interviews. ITV, BBC, Sky News. He was all over. And that I think was very much a turning point in what we do, because it was the transition from just sitting back and letting people have a pop at us to addressing these things. And I think that's very much going to be the case going forward. We're not just going to stand idly by and let people throw mud at us, because I think that's been the problem. The reason why we have all these crazy conspiracy theories associated with us is because for so long we've not said otherwise. And when you have something where there are a lot of unknowns, or people don't really understand it because they don't research it and they don't ask people, or they just make assumptions, these things just grow and grow and grow and fester and fester and fester until the point that it's almost accepted as truth and fact. So what we're now trying to do is work to undo all of that damage, and get us to a point where actually, as I say, people think of Freemasonry in the way that it deserves to be thought of, which is an organization that helps its community and whose members play a real leading role in their society.
I like it. Well done, David Staples and team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's good. But do you think it will ever stop? Like, do you think the lies will ever stop being spread, or what do you think?
You know what the thing is? Crazy conspiracy theories get views.
Yeah.
I don't think it will ever stop, because I feel like in one way or the other, because it's popular. Dan Brown made a living out of writing things. I mean, he had a whole book written about Freemasonry and connection with Freemasonry and inaccuracies with that and stuff. And I just kind of feel like in one way or the other it will always continue, because, as I said, that's more popular to people than the idea that actually we're just a bunch of people that come together because we all kind of want to be better people, and we want to help out our communities, and we have an interest in history and the ceremonies and stuff, and that's not as interesting as us all ruling the world and being secret lizards or something. Not quite as interesting.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that. And to be honest with you, I've seen that quite recently in the terms of my friends as well. So with me becoming a Freemason, I have been a Freemason long myself. I think like 16 months, 18 months. But so it's nice to see, and they go, oh, well, Dean's a Freemason, so it can't be that bad.
Exactly.
And just me sharing my experience, because what I find, as you said, the conspiracies, and you have people who take these views who aren't from Freemasons whatsoever, and then they try to argue the fact with an actual Freemason what it stands for.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like I'm standing there going, no, that is not it. But
no, I mean that's the thing. That's what we always say. When friends of mine say, "Oh yeah, it's a secret." The 2 words I can't stand are secret society, because it's just such an inaccurate representation of what Freemasonry is. There aren't secrets. That's not a thing. And I just think, a couple of times people have said that to me, and I've just said, well, what kind of secret society would have an Instagram account, and Facebook and Twitter, and our building, which is meant to, it's this fantastic massive, you can't miss it, in the middle of London. This massive bloody building in the middle of London, open 6 days a week to the public. There's tours for people that they can go around and they can see the building. Most Freemasons that I've met are more than happy. God, you can't shut them up talking about their membership of Freemasonry and what it's about. And this was a good example, actually, of something that we did. The photo you see here is from Open House London last year, and that was myself there with another Freemason on the other side, and then in the middle, on the right there, you've got Maxine, who is the Grand Secretary of
Yeah.
Freemasonry for Women, which is one of the female orders, and then on the left of her is Harshil, who is I think she's either an entered apprentice or a fellow craft at that point, as she's an entered apprentice, I think
Yeah.
they're looking by
Yeah.
the apron, and they were there. We had both. We had both of them there with us, talking to members of the public. So Open House London is traditionally an architectural festival where a lot of buildings in London open their doors and let people come. The Foreign Office does it. All of these places do it.
Yeah.
And we broke the record. I think the previous year we'd had about 3,000 through the doors, and I think last year we ended up with 9,000
Oof.
people came through the doors, and it was just a fantastic event, because what we had is we had members of the public, we had Freemasons walking around in regalia, as you can see there.
Yeah.
We had Maxine and Harshil from Freemasonry for Women talking to people, and actually the fantastic thing is that people, you could hear people saying, well, hang on a minute, I didn't think women could become Freemasons. And it's like, well, yeah, that right there is a perfect example of it.
Yeah.
And actually just smashing through that misconception was really powerful. And it was just a great event. But we're always looking at ways to do that. We're always looking at ways to kind of destroy these common misconceptions that people have. And so far, so good, I think.
Yeah, no, it's lovely to hear. So thanks for sharing that as well, because
No worries.
obviously it's something that's passionate to us all.
Yep.
To go back into it, it might be a misconception what I'm going to say here, but here we go. We've all heard Freemasonry is an older man's game. So how is it being a young man working at UGLE?
Yeah, that is a misconception, Dean.
I know.
look at me and you.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, but you know what? I know what you mean. It's absolutely fine. And in fact, at UGLE, we've got a lot of staff there now who are kind of under the age of 40. Not that it really makes a great difference, really. But actually, as I said, the experience of working at UGLE it's a fascinating place to work. It's a lovely place to work as well. And as I said, it's really refreshing that a lot more efforts are being made now with the Investors in People accreditation, with just improving the experience of being at work. As I said, you're at work for a lot of your life, and you're in the office 5 days a week. So in normal circumstances, of course. So it should be a place which is nice, and it should be a place that's enjoyable and fun for people. And actually, as I said, I like the mix. So in Letchworth Lodge, we have a good mixture of people, different experiences, different stages of their Masonic career. So of course, we've got the kind of grand officers, and we've got those people. But as I said, there's also a number of people like me who've not particularly long in the tooth with our Freemasonry, and I really just enjoy learning from those people, and knowing that if I've got a question about how, especially as junior deacon, a certain element of the initiation, I know I've got pretty much anyone in that lodge I can go and ask for their advice. So as you see that picture there, a friend of mine, Harry Gregory, who some listeners might know as Harry Gregory of Masonic Services fame at UGLE, but I actually met Harry in a Year 10 science class. We went to the same school together, grew up we're still best mates to this day. And yeah, Harry now manages kind of banners and badges and bylaws in Masonic Services. So he's in constant kind of communication with provinces and stuff. And that was taken on the night of his initiation. So I was senior deacon for that. So I just was able to walk behind and not do anything, which was perfect. But then I actually then delivered the first degree working tools, which was
nice.
It was a nice experience, but I was worried I wasn't going to keep a straight face, when because you have to obviously look him straight in the eye as you're saying it, and I was thinking, no, just gonna try not to crack up. But
did you get it all right?
Yeah, got it all right. Yeah, thank you. I wanted it to be perfect, because it was, I feel like it's such a one-off, isn't it? You do this once, one-off occasion, and I wanted it to be as smooth as it could be, and thankfully, I didn't mess it up. First time for everything.
Yeah. No, but you had a good night at least as well, and a good initiation.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, good. So what exactly is UGLE? How do you operate, and how do you support Freemasons across the country? I know it's a big question, but
no, I'll try my best.
You can do with it.
United Grand Lodge of England is obviously the governing body of Freemasonry in England, Wales, Channel Islands, some districts overseas as well, and it's basically the administrative body for Freemasonry. So within UGLE, we have a number of different departments that, as I said, govern and administer Freemasonry, and then we, for example, in communications, we have our relationships and communications with the provinces. So we have 47 plus Met provinces that obviously report into UGLE, and they, they obviously administer Freemasonry in their own areas, and then we kind of sit over the top, and we are, we are the Mother Grand Lodge. We are the OGs of Freemasonry, so to speak. We are the premier Grand Lodge. 1717 and all that. And I think around the world, we're regarded as, the top dog sort of thing when it comes to Freemasonry in a lot of ways. And at the end of the day, it's all about, we I think generally work really well with provinces and districts, and actually I think, again, from my point of view, that's one of the best things about working at UGLE, is that I get to talk to a lot of interesting people from around the country, around the world, and it's interesting because each province has a different challenge, that they're facing or that they're combating, and actually it's often a good challenge to go in and deal with that particular issue that province is having, and it varies. In comms, some provinces have issues that are similar to others, but then you have others who are really good at one thing and maybe struggle with another. So it's really interesting how it differs. But our job, again, just talking from a comms point of view, is to very much sit back and assist where we're needed, and we stand ready to help wherever we can, and advise and play our part where we're wanted.
No, good. So have you found that this whole experience at the minute with COVID-19, how is that affecting operations down at UGLE?
Yeah, well, we're all working from home for the time being. Obviously, with Freemasons Hall being in London, that adds another element of danger, I guess, to commuting into work and stuff. And for me, I'd have to be sitting on a packed tube train, which I'll be honest with you, I don't particularly fancy doing right now with everything going on.
Nope.
But you know what? Actually, we had our town hall meeting, which is I think we do 4 or 5 of these a year, and it's basically a chance for I run the meeting as the head of the staff committee, and there's a Q&A section at the end for David Staples, so staff can ask, the staff can ask the CEO anything that they want. And actually, it was noted in there, and it was said that actually we've all adapted really well to working from home, and I think that's going to be, that's unfortunately, whilst the science dictates it, that's going to be the case for a lot of people, isn't it, around the country, that we adjust to this new way of life for the time being. But largely, actually, things have continued pretty normally, I think, really, for us. The work's still the same. We're just doing it from the comfort of our own home rather than in the office, and obviously we're having meetings over Zoom or whatever it may be, and that's the difference. But work has continued pretty much normally, I think, really, for us. I mean, in comms we're a lot busier because, as I said, comms is obviously a fundamental part of things at the moment, but it's, I guess, just about just settling in, and it took a little while, I think, at first for me especially, just to adjust. It was a bit strange, but I'm loving it now, I have to say.
You won't want to go, go back.
Yeah. You know what? You say that. I was thinking about this. I do actually miss elements of it. It's strange, the little things that you miss. Even just, me and Dean used to pop out at lunchtime or go for a Nando's or something.
Nice.
Do you know what I mean? Just little things like that actually, and I do kind of I miss that actually. I miss that sort of normality sometimes.
Well, hopefully we'll get it back soon, shall we say? But yeah, exactly. Fingers crossed. So another big question: what are comms and UGL doing to increase membership and attract the right candidates going forward?
Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, again, from a comms point of view, I guess what we've identified and what has been identified by the board is that basically what we've not had before is basically an elevator pitch. So what we found is that if you ask a Freemason why they're a Freemason and why someone else should become a Freemason, a lot of them struggled. I certainly did. It was like, and actually, it's quite a good question to look at, because what we want to do is create that kind of narrative, you know, that guides why people are Freemasons, what's good about being a Freemason, and why other people should become a Freemason. You know, and that certainly is you know, a big bit of work that we're doing. And I think once we've got that, that will definitely help us attract new members, because then people actually know what they're getting themselves in for. People are getting a description of what Freemasonry is, because not many people know much about Freemasonry. So what we need to have is something that sets that out for them early doors, so they have it and they've got it and they know what it is, and as I say, they know what they're getting themselves in for. On the other side of it, especially from a comms point of view, it's about making ourselves as visible as we can. As I said, getting stories out in the press, being active and visible on social media, normalizing Freemasonry. Again, come back to that word, just so people don't view it in the way that I think traditionally it's been viewed, and is still viewed in some quarters. That it's viewed for a force of, you know, a force for good. That if you join, you get something out of it in terms of a rewarding kind of moral experience. And I think if we do all of those things effectively, I think we're onto a winner personally, but it's a lot of work, and we don't take it for granted, and we know that there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done.
Yeah, I like the idea of the elevator pitch as well. I know you mentioned that briefly, so I'd like to see what you come up with that in the end.
Yeah, no, it's as I said, ongoing work at the moment, but it's just it's fascinating. It was something I always kind of thought of in terms of, you know, if when someone asks me, well, what actually is Freemasonry, and I could kind of stumble my way through you know, oh, it's a group of people meeting, it's a fraternal organisation, we will do charity work and all that sort of thing, but something that's kind of short, sharp.
To the point.
And a lot of membership organisations have these, you know, that they can go to. If you ask what, you know, what the scouts are, if you ask what English heritage is or anything like that, they will have a mission statement. They will have a narrative that guides what their organisation is and what it offers to people and to members.
No, interest. But speaking of increasing membership, I've heard the age has been lowered to 18 to join. How do you see this benefiting Freemasonry, and do you have plans to promote this to the younger audience or demographic?
Yeah, but we've always had the university scheme, which was where obviously members had dispensation to be initiated at 18 rather than 21 or younger than 21. And I think it's just a pretty straightforward move really to not put any limitations on people that may want to join. And actually what we need to be doing is, you know, I mean, I went to university, but I don't think going to university is a qualification in itself to become a Freemason.
I'd be done.
Well, do you know what I mean? And actually, I feel like there's probably a lot of people out there who maybe are younger than 21 who don't go to university. There's, you know, there's a ton of other things you can do after school and go to university. And I think the idea is, you know, we don't want to stop people in that position from joining.
Yeah. No, it was interesting because I know a son of a Mason is a Lewis.
Yep.
And they were 18, and I know about the university schemes. But I was just to go back on here, you might not know as such, but is there anything specifically looking at that kind of 16, 17, kind of looking before getting them involved to come in at 18?
Not that I'm aware of, to be honest with you.
Just out of interest,
yeah. No, not that I'm aware of, but I think at the end of the day, I mean, when I was 16 or 17, I don't think I was obviously busy with school and stuff, so I don't know if I would have been particularly interested at that point. But I think 18 is a good age because, you know, as I said, you're either going to university or you're cracking on with college. You've left school. You've not got that safety blanket of school anymore. And I think it's a good time, and it's actually a time that Freemasonry can play an effective role in providing that structure that some people need when they come out of having that kind of secure environment around them. So, no, in answer to your question, not that I'm aware of.
Oh, fair enough. I was just interested to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So what is your vision then for UGL Communications, about being the manager? How do you envision it in the future? Where do you see it going?
I mean, I think I hope, and I said I've got hopes that we just go from strength to strength. You know, we'll continue building on the work that we're doing. We'll continue building good relationships with the press. We'll take it step by step. You know, and you know, we won't rush into anything. You know, we're happy with how we're doing at the moment. You know, in social media as well, just continue to get out there and make ourselves as visible as we can be with people. And as I said, you know, I keep going on about it, but we want to get to a point where people think of Freemasonry for what it deserves to be thought of, you know, which is
Yeah,
a
definitely.
force for good in the community. Um,
Yeah.
and we've got a bit of work to do before we get to that, but I'm confident, as I said, you know, we've got a good team in place now. And I think, you know, we've got good people working on it, so I'm confident.
No, good. And I'd just like to get your opinion on this as well. But do you think Freemasonry needs to develop in terms of staying relevant?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think one of the appeals of Freemasonry is, for me, certainly was the historical element to it.
Yeah.
You know, and especially as a member, you know, the ceremonies and the wording and that sort of thing was part of the appeal to me, because that was my connection with, as I say, those our kind of you know,
Yeah.
predecessors as Freemasons. You know, that was my link to, you know, the Duke of Wellington, or Winston Churchill, who experienced the exact same thing as me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like that. You know, I like that. I don't think the tradition side of it, I think, is actually good and appealing
Yeah.
to a lot of people. But you know, in some ways, I think it has to develop in terms of member experience, and making sure that you know, we fit in with modern life, and that's why, you know, we are doing that in a way. You know, we're embracing social media. You know, at the end of the day, I say, when we do our workshop, and some people do say, oh, why do you bother with all this? You know, I don't the famous one we get is, I don't care what someone's had for their breakfast on Insta. You know, why do I want to care? And I always say, you know, this stuff isn't going anywhere anytime soon, so you either adapt
Yeah.
and you use it to your advantage, or you sit back and you let everyone else do it, and then you're just, you know, sat there and you've got no advantage from it whatsoever, because you've just disregarded it, because you've kind of misunderstood what it's actually for, and
Yeah.
you've not actually considered how we can use it for our benefit.
Mm.
And social media is a great example of that, because that's something that wasn't even around 20 years ago. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
we did not have access to the audience that we have now for free. You know,
No.
where we
MSN
can,
and Bebo.
MSN, Bebo, do you know, Habbo, do you remember Habbo Hotel? Do you remember that one? Yeah, you know, looking at our Instagram account, you know, we have the biggest audience on our Instagram account is from the age of 25 to 34.
Very nice.
You know, and because it's Instagram, you can guarantee, we got, I think, over 30,000 followers on Instagram. You can guarantee that probably less than 2% of those are Freemasons. So we're talking to a
Yeah.
massive amount of non-Freemasons, the majority of which, excuse me, are in this country.
Yeah.
Um, and we would never have had that sort of access to those people, as I said, 20, even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so the idea that we now have basically a free opportunity to
Yeah.
reach masses of potential members and tell them about, you know, how great Freemasonry is, you'd be
Yeah.
stupid not to be making the most of it. And as I said, you either adapt or you die. I think that's the reality, isn't it?
No, 100%. And you mentioned membership experience there, but have you generally got any initiatives in place to increase retention rates? You're looking
Well,
at.
yeah, I mean, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Membership experience is a massive thing, and actually, I think certainly when you look at certain aspects of, you know, just the role of the provincial membership officer, you know, that's a big one, that's you know, recently just become a collared role within the provinces. You know, so the idea that you've got this person working in each province whose job it is to basically manage that area
Yeah.
is really important. It's something that I think was undervalued before.
Hmm.
And actually, communication to our members, I think we'll come on to a bit later about, you know, first rising and keeping that
Yeah.
communication channel open. That's incredibly important as well, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if people are paying money, a subscription to something,
Mhm.
you know, it's vital that we're communicating with them and we're keeping them abreast of what's going on, and we're telling them, you know, that, you know, we'll come to you with stuff. It's not all them having to look on social media or our website for what we're doing. Of course they can
Yeah.
do that, that would be brilliant, but we should also be going to them with stuff. You know, we should be
Yeah.
sending out this new newsletter and making them feel involved with what's going on at Grand Lodge. And I think if we can do all those things, and as I said, with the membership officers in place as well, you would hope that would help.
Yeah. No, nicely done. Um, is there any way Brethren can support the communications team and UGLE? Is there anything that Brethren can be doing?
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
we're fully aware that there's so much fantastic work that we don't ever hear about, you know, that goes on, that Freemasons are up to. I think just because they don't know the channels through which they can get that to us.
Yeah.
So yeah, just to clarify, the way that they can do that is through their provincial communications teams. You know, they can get in touch with those guys, and they can help you put a story together. They can give you advice on getting photos. You know, if you've got a big event coming up that your lodge is doing, you know, for example, like your Three Peaks challenge that you guys are
Yeah,
doing.
yeah.
You know,
Nice
some
plug.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
Hey.
Um, yeah, something like that though, which you know
Yeah,
otherwise we wouldn't have heard about.
yeah,
But
yeah,
if that was to go to the provincial communications officer or the provincial communications team, they could advise you on, well, try and get a photo of this, try and find an angle that we can make a story out of this. They then
yeah.
have access to a portal for FMT, an online portal where they go in and upload their stories, and that's how we end up getting them. And then
Okay.
we review them. Every story that's submitted pretty much ends up on the Freemasonry Today website.
Yeah.
And what we do is we'll then go through. I'll go through and I'll select some that I'll put forward to the magazine. And as I said, the stories that are most interesting and I think most appealing to a wider audience, we stick in the magazine as well.
No, interesting. Yeah, and you mentioned First Rising. So you've started First Rising, which
Yep,
is, I think, the first direct newsletter to be sent out to members.
yep, that's correct.
I didn't know if that was correct or not.
Yep.
Can you tell us more about it and what inspired you to create it then?
Sure, yeah. So as I said, this is the first time we've ever sent out a direct member communication, like
Yeah.
consistent on a consistent basis. So First Rising is the official newsletter for members of the United Grand Lodge of England, and the idea I think behind it was inspired very much from the context of the times that we live in.
Yeah.
So living in these current challenging times and being aware of the need for us to be more communicative with members and with brethren. Um, and actually, it's a perfect way for us to update people on really important stuff. So, for example, the suspension. Obviously, we didn't have First Rising as such then, but
Yeah.
it's kind of turned into that. But early on in lockdown, we were sending out all member notifications to everyone about the grandmasters suspending Masonic meetings for a period of time, that sort of thing. We have to know that that's got to members. So if you're going through a provincial office, that just adds more work for the province because they're then having to forward it on to people.
Yeah.
So the most obvious way around that is for us just to do it. We've got the means to do it, so we can ping that out. And it's just a good way for us to know that those messages have got to the sort of right places.
Yeah.
And how that's developed over lockdown, as I said, is into this all member newsletter First Rising, where we include important updates from Grand Lodge, so things that we want members to know. We have a few other things that people might find of interest. We have little competitions and stuff that
Mhm.
we're definitely going to develop and take forward in future editions, and updates from the Masonic Charitable Foundation, the Freemasons charity, and
Yeah.
the Museum of Freemasonry. So things that we think people would find interesting and useful,
Yeah.
we put in there. And actually, it's been, we've had some really good feedback so far. People have found it really good, and a lot of people have said, I miss my Freemasonry. It's great to hear that
Yeah. Yeah.
things have not just stopped. Things are continuing, and plans are being put in place to get us back. And actually, one of the most popular sections, and I think one of the better sections of the current editions that have gone out so far, have been the light at the end of the tunnel,
Yeah.
where we've had kind of case studies we had some from Hong Kong, we had another from New Zealand, South Island, and we recently, in the last edition, had one from the Channel Islands. Um, an update basically on how they're starting to get back to meeting again.
Yeah.
And actually, what that we hope provides is people with a light at the end of the tunnel. That actually
Yeah.
this isn't going to go on forever. That eventually we will be back again in our meetings, enjoying a festive board and having a good time.
Yeah.
And the idea of that is just to boost morale, which is obviously really important at times like this.
Yeah, massively important. So congratulations on the successful launch.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah. So is there any other initiatives you'd like to promote while you're here? Or
Um, Well, yeah, I mean, as I would say, the work continues on a number of different areas for us at the moment. We never stop looking for new ways to innovate and improve things and improve member experience. And
yeah.
something that we'll be launching shortly is actually a series of toolkits. So these will be based around general areas of communication, social
Yeah.
media, websites, press releases, these sorts of things. And there'll be a little kind of how-to guide. We call it a toolkit, but a little
Okay.
how-to guide that basically sets out, at quite a basic, easy level, how to do these things, and basically, yeah, we'll be distributing those, we hope, soon to provincial communications officers.
Yeah.
So then hopefully people will be able to benefit from those going forward.
Oh, nice. I look forward to seeing it. Just before we're coming towards the end of the interview here, but I'd like to ask you, what has been your favorite project to work on as communications manager? I know you mentioned the 300 anniversary and stuff, but what has been your highlights or top two, top three?
Yeah, I think top two, I'd say the second was definitely the Royal Albert Hall. That was just such a special day for Freemasonry in general, really, because
Yeah, yeah.
we had representatives from all around the world. So many different colours of aprons you wouldn't even know existed, and actually that week we had, I think I might be wrong, but I think on the Monday, the foreign Grand Masters from the various Grand Lodges from overseas came to Freemasons Hall and met the Grand Master in the
Wow.
Grand Temple, which was just an amazing experience, and it was a fascinating thing to see. And then the next day, we were in we were at the Royal Albert Hall, and you just knew that you were experiencing something big,
Huge, yeah.
a real historic moment in our history.
Yeah.
And I think number one would have to be our workshops, just because I think that's something that I think we hope people have benefited from, and looking at kind of results and things that we see, that's a photo of us in North Wales. We have a fantastic relationship with the guys up in North Wales. They really get it in terms of comms, and I think being able to go and meet people in their own backyard, as I say, and get to know our members, get to know people on a personal level and stuff, and as I said, give them some guidance, give them some advice. They may not choose to follow that advice. That's up to them. It's their social media channels, it's their website, whatnot. But we like to share how we do it, and if they can get any benefit from that, brilliant.
No, that's good. I think I know one of your favourite moments here, though, Sean.
Go on, Dean.
And I know Darren slipped the photo in earlier, but there's a photo of you on this magnificent throne here, mate.
Oh God!
There
he is. Who is that Muppet?
No, not at all. That is an impressive photo. Can you explain what went on here, mate?
Yeah, sure. So basically, for any Game of Thrones fans out there, obviously Game of Thrones Series 8, probably one of the biggest disappointments of any famous TV series. No, but Sky basically decided that they were going to screen the final episode in the Grand Temple at Freemasons Hall. So right where that throne is, there is where the Grand Master would usually sit. On the dais in the Grand Temple, and basically they had a big screen up where the junior warden, the junior Grand Warden would usually sit. Sorry, they had a big screen up there, and they had all the spectators were kind of seated there, and they screened the final episode. The ultimate letdown episode, and just beforehand, they're in the Grand Temple for the whole day beforehand, setting things up. And there was, I don't know, Dean, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, but the sword master who taught Arya Stark how to fight in series 1.
Oh yeah, that one.
He was there, which was really cool. Oh right, a geek moment there. We united in geekness there. Yeah, the sword master who taught Arya Stark to fight was there, which was pretty cool. I got a photo with him. And the main event was the Iron Throne, which was there.
That is a serious throne.
Cool, isn't it? And basically we had it was put out, an email went out to staff, and the first 10 people or so who responded were able to go and get their photo taken, and I was literally...
Did you send 10 emails?
I've never typed so fast. I just headbutted the keyboard and pressed send.
It was just F and G's and H's.
Just like thrown up some alphabetic spaghetti on the keyboard. But it was just it was so cool getting to sit on that. And as I said, I had to be draped in like this cloak and a big, sword. It was awesome. It was fantastic.
That's a pretty cool photo.
It was cool, yeah.
But we have another photo with you and Johnson Berry.
Oh, Johnson Bahari, yes.
Bahari, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, this is another highlight really for me. Actually, this would be on the list definitely. So, along with the VC paving stones out the front of the building, we also had a VC commemorative stone built, and basically again just to commemorate the sacrifices of those that have received the Victoria Cross and who are Freemasons.
Yeah.
And the event took place at Freemasons Hall. We had the Grand Master who unveiled the stone, and we also had in attendance Johnson Bahari VC, who is one of the living recipients of the Victoria Cross for his services in Iraq or Afghanistan, and just his story is just amazing. What he did was absolutely just. I would definitely recommend looking him up and seeing what he did because they don't give these things out lightly. You know, they're personally handed to. They're personally awarded them by the Queen. You know, it's a big deal. Getting a Victoria Cross, they don't give them out lightly. So I would definitely recommend having a look at what he did. But yeah, he's a Freemason himself. He was actually initiated in the Grand Temple of all places at Freemasons Hall. Massive audience, yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, so him and another, I think it was an Australian chap who was another VC recipient. They were both initiated at the same time in the Grand Temple, and this, as I said, is on the unveiling of the stone. And I was having a chat with him, and I just couldn't resist having a photo with him.
Of course not.
Because just such a fantastic guy. And as I said, yeah, do look him up and see what he did because it's bloody impressive.
Yeah, well, thank you, Johnson, very much. I know you might see this, you might not, but that's brilliant. Just before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to add, Shaun, before we go? Is there anything you'd like to say?
You know what, generally, I just want to say thank you. As I said, thank you generally to everyone and Freemasons out there for carrying on the work and for just doing everything that they've done during COVID, because what a challenging time it's been for everyone, and the role that Freemasons have played during this period is just sensational, you know. And actually seeing, you know, we basically dedicated the entire new section of the last edition of FMT, and we'll do the same with the next one as well, to COVID stories of how Freemasons have been, you know, helping in their communities. You know, Matt Felgate in Lincolnshire, who owned a gin distillery and basically completely repurposed his entire business to make hand sanitizer, which made the news in Japan and stuff. Is absolutely crazy. You know, Colin Breckens in Norfolk, who was making visors, had police and ambulance turning up at his door in the early hours of the morning to collect PPE. Just mad, the work that's been undertaken. And also, I think the second thing I'd like to say is just, you know, to yourself, Dean, and to Darren as well, who's obviously hidden at the moment. Just thank you as well, because you guys have played a massive part in keeping people connected. You know, keeping Freemasons involved during this period, and just making sure that experience doesn't stop just because of the situation that we're in. So you guys deserve a massive amount of credit for the time that you've given to make your podcast work and be as successful as it is. So yeah, just well done, and keep up the good work.
Oh no, thank you. I really appreciate that. And that bleeds us into actually a great moment to get Darren back in, who is, of course, the Manchester Level Club chairman.
Hello.
Hey, Darren. How are you there?
Just lurking in the background there, yeah. I've not got really much to add, apart from saying thank you, Shaun, for coming on. Thanks for your input. It's been amazing.
Shaun, I'm guessing, is there an invite there for Manchester Level Club to get some members down to Grand Lodge?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, when things return to normal and it's safe to do so, yeah, you guys do feel free to come down, and we'll give you a special tour of the building, and yeah, absolutely, and we'll make a real nice event of it. Absolutely.
Oh, that'd be brilliant. Well, before we wrap up, Shaun, I'd like to thank you from me personally. Really appreciate your time. I'm really glad we got to meet each other. I have learned a lot about you as well personally. You've shared an absolute phenomenal amount of information there with us as well. So thank you very much for doing that.
No problem.
Massive thank you to you, to everyone at UGLE, everyone, all the brethren, everyone out there from Manchester Level Club, Manchester Masons and East Lancashire Masons. It is a goodbye from the 6 Manchester Masons podcast. We shall see you next time.